Mr. Chair, thank you to the witnesses for being here. I've listened very intently to your expertise and your testimony today. Just going to start off with some questions for Professor Nagy. Professor Nagy, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be suggesting that we move away from aligning ourselves with our American allies in terms of security relationship in response to China, and move towards rather perhaps other allies, but also international institutions like the UN, the World Health Organization, and the IMF. Is that correct? Is that a correct assessment of what you've said?
No, I will reiterate, I think that it's really important that we cooperate with our closest ally, the United States, but we need to be also conscious that how the degree of cooperation that we engage with may open us up to being used as leverage in the US-China competition. And this happened with the arrest of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavro. I think that the economic coercion that happened against Australia is another example of this. And we need to be finding and threading the needle in terms of how we cooperate with the United States, but at the same time, find an independent way to engage.
Thank you very much. But you had said specifically that sort of if we do move closer to, I believe the word you keep using is securitized. I'm not quite sure, but I believe you're referring to our security relationship with the U.S. If we move closer and align ourselves more closely, you said that we can have Canadian businesses in danger in China. Is that not what you said?
Yes, I did.
Right. So you would disagree then that we should be pursuing relationships with AUKUS, for example, which, as you know, is a security agreement with the U.S., the U.K., and Australia, or as well the quadrilateral security dialogue with India, Japan, Australia, and the U.S. We should, in your opinion, not be joining these?
No, and I've written explicitly about this. I said that Canada should cooperate with the quadrilateral security dialogue in an ad hoc functional way. There's not a membership in the Quad, but they should find ways to cooperate in terms of maritime security. If you follow the developments of the Quad, they're talking about technological cooperation, infrastructure, and connectivity cooperation. AUKUS as well. I think that the nuclear submarine aspect of AUKUS takes up a lot of media space, but the real area for Canadian cooperation is in AI and quantum computing cooperation. We've already allocated budgets to work in international partnerships for AI and quantum computing cooperation, and we should be fully on board in those areas and contribute the resources and our excellent institutions and experts to add value both to the Quad and AUKUS in those particular areas.
Thank you, Professor. Recently, we heard from our top generals in the Canadian military, and I think that they have a very different opinion, of course, than you in terms of the need to align ourselves in terms of the defense equipment and procurement with our allies. They seem to have a different opinion in terms of protecting our Canadian sovereignty, and I could go on, but just our defense experts in this country don't seem to be aligned quite with where you're at on this. So would you suggest then that we should be putting our time rather in the UN, for example? That's where we should be putting a little bit more of our time, from your opinion?
I think the UN is a compromised institution. I think, again, we should be working with like-minded countries, and I don't think we need to solely focus on the defense area of cooperation. We can work in enlarging the comprehensive progressive trans-Pacific partnership so we can shape the rules of the region that will potentially shape Chinese behavior. We can talk about digital cooperation. We can talk about AI and quantum computing cooperation. Defense is important, but there's many other partners within the region that can help us engage with the Indo-Pacific and also China, and it doesn't necessarily need to revolve strictly around defense.
Understood. I do, though, have some concerns for your position, though, in the sense that the United States is the only power in the world that can really rival anything that China has. I don't think you would disagree with that. So the idea that we would move away from aligning ourselves with our oldest and strongest ally and sort of avoid international agreements with our allies that include the U.S., like AUKUS and the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, I feel that that's a bit reckless. That the farther away we are from the U.S., the more we may open ourselves up to being heard. And I take your point fully regarding the two Michaels, though I think that may be more of a case of the leaders of the President of the United States and our Prime Minister not having a strong enough relationship. I think that there's something to be said there. That being said, I do have concerns with your position. And I'll just conclude, Mr. Chair. and again, you had said earlier that we need to align with the UN, the IMF a little bit more, and the World Health Organization. But as pointed out by Mr. Neve, the UN Human Rights Council voted against condemning the Uyghur genocide in China. So I do have concerns with the priorities that you've outlined today, but I do very much appreciate your perspective. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms.